This is video made by Upper Echelon. We just watched, like a couple of days ago, we watched one of his videos on Starfield. But this one is called Gamers Get Ready for AI to Ban You. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know who posted this, but I'm pretty sure I know what this is about. I think that this is about Call of Duty and AI that will work on banning people for like profanity, voice abuse, and all that. Like, but let's see what he has to say.
This video is brought to you by Ground News. I vetted them for about 5 months before partnering up, and their service was a core part of why I'm even covering this video topic today. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they're providing to the entire Upper Echelon community. Alright, the title says it all, so let's dive in. Activision Blizzard, the publisher responsible for Call of Duty, among other things, which is one of the largest entertainment properties in the world, recently announced that they will be using AI-powered hate speech detection methods to moderate voice chat in matches. Simply put, machine learning will become responsible for determining player punishment with the power to ban end users where and when it sees fit. It does not have that power at the moment. I just want to make that clear. I was watching the video after and had to add this in post-script, but it will. I make my case later in the video, so just keep watching. That sounds like a bad science fiction movie. The robot overlords deciding who can and can't speak.
Exactly.
And sure, it's just video games. That's true. But video games are now in excess of a $300 billion industry. So it's safe to say that
the issue is how do you stop people from abusing any of the, because like players are gonna figure out how it works and how to get people banned. Like as an example, if I open Overwatch right now, why not use AI for cheaters? There is a thing that they were working on, and I don't know if it made it to the game yet. But apparently, the cheaters will be or are currently seeing models of players that are not there. So basically, you have like, let's say 16 people in a match, but the cheater is going to see like 32 people. And they will constantly be like locking onto other like non-existent players. And that's at least the idea. I don't know if it's actually working right now or is it like in the works. I have no idea. But what I wanted to say is that the players, will always find a way to break a system. So currently, I am banned from chatting in Overwatch, and I've been playing Overwatch for fucking I don't know how many years, 6 years, let's see. I'm banned from the chat and from the voice chat, even though. Like, maybe I use profanities, but I wasn't toxic towards other people. And I mostly just don't engage when, like, people become toxic and all of that. But what happens is that people have figured out a way to report other players that they don't like. So, for example, they don't like that I'm sticking to a character they don't think works. But they don't realize it's them, it's not me. And they're going to report me. But the easiest way to report me is to report me for hate speech, because nobody's gonna fucking check that, and I'm just gonna get banned, right? And this is like I don't know how many times I fucking got banned from. I actually got banned for a month once from the game itself because of hate speech, and I don't fucking engage. I mostly don't engage with text chat and all of that, but sure. So. People are going to find a way how to break the system, to abuse it, so they can get people, other players, kicked. So, again, back to the Overwatch example. If you have a bunch of players queued up together, they're going to report one player, and your all of your reports as like one player. If you report like 5 other people, that doesn't really count as much as it like 5 players fucking reporting you in a match, right? So you're gonna get banned and they're not gonna get banned, right? Even though you didn't engage, they just like abused the whole fucking system. They were overly toxic in voice chat or in text chat, but nobody fucking cares because it's like 5-1. So I'm pretty sure that like this whole thing is gonna happen with AI because people are gonna figure out how to trigger AI to ban people.
Tech applied here also replicates elsewhere. Roughly 3 billion individuals play video games, and sure, Call of Duty is a proprietary black box of sorts in terms of actual player statistics, but over 50 million MAU, monthly active users, have been documented in both Call of Duty Mobile and Warzone, respectively, which is just 2 entries in the current roster. I don't really need to sit here and rattle off stats on how big the franchise is. Everyone already knows that, but what they might not know is that very soon they will be subjected to machine learning moderation, designed to monitor their voices in real time and ban them for excess toxicity. Now, it's very important when I discuss topics like this to try and stay away from
if you raise your voice, you're going to get banned?
That's one of my very distinctive goals now, so let's dissect this as responsibly as possible. Directly from Activision Blizzard's own blog post, quote, Call of Duty's new voice chat moderation system utilizes ToxMod, the AI-powered voice chat moderation technology from Modulate, to identify in real time and enforce against toxic speech, including hate speech, discriminatory language, harassment, and more. This new development will bolster the ongoing moderation systems led by the Call of Duty anti-toxicity team, which includes text-based filtering across 14 languages for in-game text, chat, and usernames, as well as a robust in-game player reporting system. An initial beta rollout of the voice chat moderation technology will begin in North America on August 30th inside the existing games Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and Call of Duty Warzone, to be followed by a full worldwide release, excluding Asia, timed to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on November 10th. Support will begin in English with additional languages to follow at a later date. End quote. There it is. Beta system is already live, full-scale rollout during the final months of 2023. Cool. Why does it matter? Well, for starters, the only reason that the company even feels like it needs this kind of system is because of a thing called scale. Operating at scale, in this context, means operating a franchise that has tens of millions of concurrent players.
Who's going to check all that?
Hundreds of thousands of reports, and a veritable fire hose of constant moderation decisions that have to be made. That requires an entire team of people sitting there 24/7, reviewing complaints and handing out punishment. That takes time, money, and resources to maintain, which gets more and more difficult over time, especially with the growth of the player base. YouTube itself has the very same issue. So does Twitch, so does Facebook, and so does Twitter. All social media does, for that matter. Operating at scale is not an isolated issue, but the goal here is to automate the process as much as possible. On the most fundamental level, I completely understand why, but...
And as we all know, automation is great. It was always great, and it will always be great, and no issues will arise from automation.
There's a delicate balance, because too much automation...
Especially if you automate getting people banned from a game that they fucking paid for. The main issue here is that people don't really get toxic in games that are cooperative, right? Like, it's so weird to get a co-op game and you're fighting mobs together and you being toxic towards other players, right? Unless you're a toxic piece of shit and it's just like your personality, right? But the issue here is that like more and more games are becoming like competitive games. There is more and more competitive games out there, and people get very toxic over competitive games because they think that they are not the problem, that the other players are a problem or whatever, and they really like trying to get to that rank, like in Overwatch, like in Rainbow Six Siege, like in I didn't play Call of Duty in a while. Like the last Call of Duty that I played was Modern Warfare, like the first one, and that's it. I don't fucking care about Call of Duty, honestly. It's a trash game. The community is trash and all of that. But yeah, so that's why this is happening. And developers are making competitive games because they sell. Because it's really easy making a game that sells good if you make it a competitive PvP game, because you don't need to care about the content. The content is made by the players.
Leads to false positive punishment.
It's the same with
which
Valorant,
is obviously not acceptable.
To
be completely honest, false positive punishment happens with moderation on a human level as well, but it's nothing compared to machine learning. I'll go deeper on that later. Currently, as it stands, AI moderation in Call of Duty will scan voice chat, text chat, and player usernames. However, it should be clarified that the consensus here is that human moderation is still, for the time being, the final decision maker. Directly from the Call of Duty support page, quote, Detection happens in real time, with the system categorizing and flagging toxic language based on the Call of Duty Code of Conduct as it is detected. Detected violations of the Code of Conduct may require additional reviews of associated recordings to identify context before enforcement is determined. Therefore, actions taken will not be instantaneous. As the system grows, our processes and response times will evolve. Further down, Call of Duty's voice chat moderation system only submits reports about toxic behavior categorized by its type of behavior and a rated level of severity based on an evolving model. Activision determines how it will enforce voice chat moderation violations. End quote. Okay, so right now, as it stands, to be very clear, human eyes are a supposed stopgap between false positives and wrongful punishment. But I'm sorry to say, that is quite obviously a temporary measure, because it defeats the entire purpose of the program itself.
So true.
All right, before going further, this video is, of course, sponsored by Ground News, but also, quickly, the topic itself only came up on my radar initially after someone sent me a link to their platform. Let's use this very subject as an example. Ground News serves as an aggregate feed of reporting on various issues, right? Breaking news, etc., stuff like that. For this one, AI in Call of Duty, it compiles a list of outlets, links to where the story is covered, rates them in terms of media bias, and serves them to the reader. The problem a lot of us face right now, and it is indeed a problem as we browse social media, is knowing what is or is not true. Or at the very least, if you can't find out what's true, knowing what is and is not biased or has spin on it. Ground News works to solve that problem by clearly outlining the business structure.
This is like the first ads from a content creator that I'm really like I opened the fucking website immediately. This sounds really good. I think I've heard of this before, but this sounds really cool. I'm liking this.
Factuality and political leanings of the outlets, which helps contextualize what would otherwise be splinter fragments of a broader picture. I mean it when I say it. It's a good service. I use it myself. I've had people in my own research circles use it for quite some time on discussions and things like that. And it lets me compare headlines, follow topics I care about, and discover disproportionate coverage. That's an interesting one. It is a much more well-rounded method of digesting contemporary news, especially compared to a social media feed, for example, which is great because that makes it easy to talk about them as a sponsor. I actually dropped the amount of money I normally ask for on this ad, specifically because it's a worthy sponsor to take.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good fit for the channel. If you subscribe through,
although it can be abused,
the link down below in the description before September 25th, you will get 30% off the unlimited access tier plan. Again, link down below for 30% off if you sign up before September 25th. In terms of a sponsorship, this is about as good a fit as I could possibly ask for on the channel, so please keep that in mind. Big thank you to Ground News for sponsoring the channel. All right, the consensus here from browsing all of these articles is that Call of Duty now employs at-scale moderation with machine learning, but human beings have the final say. Cool, fine, whatever. But no, not really whatever. That doesn't make any logical sense, at least not long-term, because the entire premise of automation is to reduce human labor and cost. The new system is called ToxMod, which is developed by a company called Modulate. Modulate is partnered with the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, by the way, for those that have an opinion on that part of things. But to really explain this, I have to go big picture. ToxMod is intended to actively moderate chat activity.
I don't even fucking know what that is.
From passive moderation, if you will, where another user has to be the first one to submit a report ticket. In the past, if 10 million people were playing the game, let's say, and 100,000 instances of toxic behavior occurred on any given day or week or month, whatever it is, whether legitimate or exaggerated, it might result in, I don't know, let's say 10,000 actual reports at the end of the day. See, the number gets drastically smaller based on how many steps there are in the process, but ToxMod eliminates one of those steps completely by flagging every single instance of toxicity it scans, not just hears about or has a user report submitted. This means, if we think about it rationally, that instead of 10 million players creating, I don't know, 100,000 instances, shall we say, of toxicity, where only 10,000 of them become legitimate report tickets, thereby requiring action, the software will start to flag somewhere in the vicinity maybe of 100,000 cases. It could be more if the false positive rate is high, which it is, more on that in a second, or it could be lower if the software is drastically flawed. But the number of instances where behavior is detected that requires moderation spikes dramatically.
Wait.
The number of instances where behavior is detected
Breachers, I never heard of that game. Call of Duty, Poker Stars,
that requires moderation spikes dramatically. Fairly simple equation, and hopefully everyone can see where I'm going with it. If these new infractions actually require or receive...
what is MK1? Mortal Kombat? Is it playable now? I tried it today on my PS5. If we're talking about Mortal Kombat, it said like 4 more days.
A human review, suddenly the amount of work that needs to be done increases dramatically. That means more people, more time, and more cost, moderating a much larger set of complaints so that human eyes can check the context and decision making of an AI program. It's not exactly like that, but that's the gist of it. Short term, that's fine. They're training the program. Long term, it defeats the entire purpose of at-scale moderation, because the actual value of machine learning in this case is the ability to automate the process. See what I'm saying? Right now, as they conduct the beta, sure, maybe the AI.
The issue is this might be abused, and it might affect the free speech, which again might become a serious fucking issue in the future.
AI has human oversight. Later down the line, it won't. I say that with about as much conviction as I can possibly have.
I don't think I got
Setting
the
aside the wider implications of training
sure.
a program like that, Amazon admits, for example, that workers listen to the audio Alexa picks up in your home. Microsoft admits that third parties listen to Cortana in Skype conversations, etc., etc. It's a really scary field when you get into it. Yep. Setting all that aside, the more immediate problem comes into focus: WER. WER, also known as word error rate, though imperfect, refers to the frequency that AI-generated transcripts are wrong. ASR, automatic speech recognition, is a rapidly growing field, but when it comes to relative accuracy and WER, the industry norm, is nowhere near as well developed as most people think. Anecdotally, I know this because I use a program called Descript rather often to scrape AI-generated text from long-form videos, and it's good to an extent. It's good for what I need it for, really. But
so I know of a YouTuber, I forgot the name, that got demonetized for the use of the N-word on YouTube because of this shit that he's like currently talking about, because he didn't use the N-word, he said something else, and it was about a whatchamacallit. I'm trying not to say the word. So the thing that the liquid that you pour onto your salad. So it's mostly used for like salads and shit. So yeah, that happened. And that's YouTube. And YouTube has like a really good speech to text and like speech recognition and all of that. So
error rate is extremely high. However, that's just me. What about others? According to research from Johns Hopkins, Poznan University of Technology in Poland, and Wrocław University of Science and Technology during 2020, the word error rate when analyzing call center data for contemporary cutting-edge automatic speech
online speech can include decency and decorum
speech recognition software was as high as 23%.
JT,
at the same exact time,
even typing
major tech
it's
firms
gonna
were
get you
claiming rates
banned,
of
dude.
under 5%. That's a huge discrepancy, often as low as 2 or 3%, according to them. Yes, technology moves fast, but the challenges of idiolect accent.
Also, so like I agree, but like you know how most of the world is. Even I am not the perfect fucking example because all the profanities that I constantly say when I'm trying to think of a word. But like, why would an AI understand that? Like, I swear a lot. I swear a decent amount in my own language, but in English I swear much more because I say the F word every time I'm trying to think of it. I don't know why. Probably because I was raised or I learned English from like 90s rap. But yeah, so how the shit is AI gonna like understand that? It's not. It's just gonna hear the F word over and over again, and it's just like
and crosstalk are very difficult to solve in this
Thank
way.
you, Solet.
And the added nuance of context means that while machine learning can now perform basic tasks, kind of, it's still very far from being able to achieve accuracy rates acceptable for moderation or punishment. Philosophically, will it ever be acceptable? The word error rate for speech recognition software will likely never be zero, and allowing a machine learning program to execute disciplinary action over human beings Well, that seems
That's how
pretty
you
bad.
learned English too?
Philosophically,
Nice.
will it ever be acceptable? Some people say no, some people say yes, and that's a debate that's probably never going to subside. Still, the point here is to explore the topic thoroughly, and with that in mind, Call of Duty isn't alone. Riot Games and Ubisoft have also partnered up on an initiative called Zero Harm in Comms, where a joint database is being built for AI moderation to detect harmful speech and implement automatic voice evaluation. Good, bad, that's up to you, the viewer, but the push towards automatic solutions at
So
scale that will
all that I can say is that the insults and the toxicity is gonna become much more creative. Like, people are not gonna tell you to demonetize yourself. They're gonna find a way how to creatively tell you that, so you become pissed off. So you respond to them, so you get banned.
moderate and suspend players based on machine learning is growing, undeniably growing. Even if the error
That's
rate
so
were to
true,
fall,
JT.
let's say, below 2%, is it even a good idea in the first place? I understand the desire for video game communities to be purged of offensive conduct, however that is interpreted. It's a battle that's taken place for decades, but I find myself increasingly hesitant to accept AI moderation as the saving grace. An error rate of even just 1 or 2% in a community that spans 100 million players will result in incredibly high numbers of wrongful suspensions, as an absolute number that is, if
Yeah.
complete automation is utilized. I understand that every new AI startup claims to have the most advanced method and model, but human communication and emotional context is not something that should be governed, at least not in my eyes, from my perspective, by a neural network of automated if-then criteria. My point is this. Brace yourself for the inevitability that video games will soon be governed by artificial intelligence. Your activity, communication, and behavior will be surveyed.
Yeah, so we are responsible for what we see, but if the AI doesn't understand what we said, and it happens a lot, especially like on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure that YouTube has like the best voice to text or voice recognition out there, because I tried the Adobe's one for Premiere, so I can like whenever I in my videos when I use my when I try to animate text while I'm talking and I'm trying to like emphasize certain things that I said, I try the AI, and most of the times it's okay. But then there are some times when it's just like, what? How did you hear that? And I listen to the thing and it's really clear, but the AI just like thought I said something else. So that's an issue that could happen. And also, as I've said at the start, like there's gonna be players and people that are gonna like understand how the whole thing works, and they're gonna like be super creative with their insults, and they're gonna try and get other people banned with this.
Failed constantly.
So yeah,
And if the program decides that you have done something offensive to someone else, you will be banned. We are witnessing the pilot programs right now as I make this video. We are watching them build the database, and eventually
it
will
all
have
like
actual
reminds
authority.
me, and I don't want to like go all like it just reminds me of a book by, I'm gonna say Albert Camus. I don't know. We say Albert Camus or Albert Camus, and it's called Stranger or Foreigner. I don't know what the English translation is, but the whole like thing in the whole plot of the book is that he came from France back to his homeland, where his mother died, and he only had a white suit, and he was there like on her funeral or whatever, and people were really like weirded out by the fact that he's like wearing a white suit on his mother's funeral, and then he drank white coffee on the day when like she was buried, and because he likes white coffee. And then like people were still like weirded out, like, no, this guy is a psychopath. And what happened was that he got attacked. Somebody tried to mug him. He defended himself, and the mugger got killed. So the whole like plot is that he's getting basically convicted by people that like don't give him a chance of talking or defending himself in the court of law. And he's basically a stranger or like a foreigner to the whole situation, because he's just like looking at the whole court and the whole like process from a third person perspective, right? So honestly, like whenever AI prosecutes you or like bans you for something, that's like the first thing that like comes to mind, honestly.
Authority to hand out suspensions and protect the community, in big air quotes, whatever that word ultimately means. That's it. If you want to support, check out the links down below. Best ways are locals, Patreon, and channel memberships, but there's also a cybersecurity product affiliate list, social media, and of course the video sponsor, Ground News. But yeah, I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.
It's a great video, as always. I don't know. Honestly, like, I understand having like a prevent filter and all of that. I understand that you need to have AI to like regulate the whole thing. But sometimes with some games, like, I don't really know how it's gonna work. We really don't know how it's gonna work. The first thing that comes to mind when it comes to like gaming and like swearing and all of that, Squad is an excellent game when you play with people that are just funny, because, or that like role playing in that game, because the game can start being super immersive because of people like swearing like crazy and acting like jarheads and playing their part, playing their role in the whole thing. But yeah, like if AI bans that, that's gonna be an issue. It doesn't faze me one bit if people in video games are toxic. I'm here to enjoy myself, and if you can't handle little swearing, just mute everyone. That's also, yeah, like I mostly just mute people. But yeah, bannings are not good. The AI should just mute the word in real time when someone is saying it in a context where it's deemed inappropriate. That could also happen, but like the voice chat will need to be delayed for that, because there's going to be like a lot of processing.